So, moving out of our sequence of events that occurred there and kind of the premonitions into the upcoming uh, reign of chaos, we'll say. I think that everybody needs to make their preparations. It's the dawn of the fall solstice, right? The autumn solstice, and by sometime today, you need to make your plan in action.
Okay, and Jordan, real quick.
Yeah.
Did you get my message?
Yeah, probably.
I sent it on Roll20.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about that. To be fair, give me one roll and we'll see how high you go.
Okay.
Make it Arcana.
Not too high.
Not too high. So you probably get how many successes do you have left yet?
A 9.
Yeah. So I think you probably get 3 successes.
Okay.
Cool. So the group of you awaken, you need to enact your plan, and this is the part of the game where we talk about Morella and Hannibal. You guys are going to go prepare for your mission. Aelin and I assume Jericho, you're going to dedicate some effort into figuring out how to make contact with these priests.
All the priests and clerics.
Yeah, all of the clerics in existence.
Literally all of them.
Well, as part of my preparation, wait till you're done.
Okay. So Kree, you're leading the troops per se, trying to goad an attack, right? Into the swampy realm where you will be at an advantage even against greater numbers.
Yes.
And that leaves Farron, really, to do whatever Farron thinks is best for him to do.
Oh.
If you can teleport, you're free to come along.
I cannot.
Go find your girlfriend.
Mel and Farron sitting in a tree.
Dad.
Kissing. First
Yeah, go find your soon to be dead.
Then comes fucking.
Yeah, before she commits
Comes the
seppuku
baby
or whatever.
Carriage. Oh yeah. Also, I need to start throwing more fucks in there. We gotta get banned.
Yeah.
We gotta get banned.
It wasn't. They weren't banned.
I'm just going to make. I'm gonna make.
Fuck.
I think that somebody was just uncomfortable with how adorable the current love story is that's going on in that.
Probably true.
I think that is really what caused them to.
What, are you trying to fuck something?
Trying is.
I mean,
we're well past the trying phase.
We're well past the
I feel
trying
like
phase.
I'm missing something here, but I'm not convinced that's a bad thing.
Oh, no, I am totally going based without context, so I'm just going along with this.
No, off topic. First time ever I've gotten a YouTube video limited or restricted monetized. And it was Olympus' second episode last week. Apparently, out of all the 470 something videos I have, that's the one that it didn't get demonetized. It's just advertisers have to be like, I'm okay with bad language, and then I'll
Oh, they got
ads
age
on
gated.
it. Yeah, I got restricted. First ever time.
And so it begins.
You're a real YouTuber now.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I felt like. Actually, I was proud of myself. I was like, hey, I made it. Look at that. I'm big enough now that they care.
I did it, Mom.
Seriously. Because like smaller YouTubers don't have to worry about that shit, right? Because we don't make any money anyway.
You're not
Amazing.
wrong.
It's true though. Like once you start getting your shit demonetized, you know you made it. Like you know that.
Yeah, it's then the next step is when you start getting all your videos just claimed. straight
Yeah,
up.
yeah, exactly. That's the
Yeah.
next step. When you start getting your videos claimed, that's
Yep.
step
You're
number
almost
2.
there. You're almost
Oh, I'm getting there. Getting there.
there.
I did have one claim, but that's because I literally used Star Wars music and a crawl for the intro.
Oh yeah, Disney will
of
fuck
the
you
other game.
immediately.
Yeah, Disney immediately will fuck you.
they got all the they got all the people everywhere. So
But anyway, that's off topic.
Yes. Anyways.
So Farron, are you gonna go track down Mel? See if you can.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's kind of got their own things, and they can hopefully do them all well. So yeah, I mean, free time. What else would Farron want to do? And that would be try to find Mel after however many weeks it's been since you last saw her.
Yeah, it's been since you got here, basically. She's been doing lots of her own work recently. But yeah, I think that certainly going to, like, you know, because of your dream and because, like, things are going to happen, you need to go find her. So I think that I kind of want to start there and see what's your plan of attack here, Farron, when it comes to trying to find your girlfriend.
I have an entire city to search, and the only clue I have is she'll turn up bloody on those white steps.
Yeah. Yep, correct.
That's not grim.
Yeah, it's totally fine, guys. Don't know what you're worrying about.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine.
So what, do I just need to try to get a nat 20 on a investigation roll?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's really up to you. Like, it's really where you think that a good place to search would be, right? Like, how do you think that she would remain able to be found there?
Yeah, that's very true.
Basically anywhere with fruit that she can steal.
You know, that's a start, certainly.
Yes, every apple tree going outwards in a spiral, starting at those white steps.
You do know she likes parks.
Indeed.
Okay. So since your plan of attack is literally just to, I'm going to use my luck here.
Doesn't he?
I think go ahead and roll me an investigation check.
I mean, yeah, but you've all run off and done your own things. And...
You also... Mel's in the city?
Yeah, apparently.
She came with us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did
she
she-
did.
She did?
Yep.
Yes.
It's
Hello.
okay, Hannibal. We'll talk about it on the way to blowing up the bridge.
Shit, how long was I gone?
Long enough.
Anyway, this is a perfect use of inspiration. I do say.
I agree.
I try agree.
Wow.
Hot damn.
Oh, ye of little faith, huh? Oh, ye of
Bloody
little
hell.
faith.
It would come on the find girlfriend roll.
Of course it
Yeah.
would.
So,
He failed every investigation roll but this one.
This is what I'm saying.
I think that Farron, where do you find her?
Yeah, I think whilst I'm searching the Great Park, kind of I see just the trails of blonde hair in an alleyway across the way, and I follow after, and there I see Mel just in the alleyway eating an apple, waiting for me. Because
Yeah.
obviously I didn't find her. She
Right, yeah. She found
let me
you.
find
Okay,
her.
sure. Yeah, she let
That's
you find
the
her.
only reason why I actually managed to get that natural 20.
I'm convinced. So she's just like, she's leaning against the wall with her foot kicked up on it. She just eats an apple, right? She takes a big chunk out of it, and she goes, "Well, how are things going?"
I really fucked up if you ask me, but we're still alive. Ow.
Your laundry's done.
No, it's not. It's still going.
I don't think that's what that sound means, but okay.
Well, it beat, but it's still going for some reason.
That's good. Anyways,
There's something wrong with my washer. It's new after all.
Hi, what about you? You've certainly been busy.
And then she goes, and how do you know that? I may have just been slacking off this whole...
Hi, when have you ever slacked off?
Quite often, in fact. Anyway, did you need something?
Is seeing you not a valid reason?
God no.
Yeah, and I think she takes pause. Like, she kind of like, she arches an eyebrow a little bit. And says, "Oh, I wasn't aware that you cared that much."
It's usually bad for business in our lines of work, but what can I say? As I give a charming grin.
A roguish grin.
Oh, that's why you multi-classed.
Yeah, just for the
Lol.
roguish grin, I can give a gross. That's the only reason.
Absolutely.
Makes sense, Jericho.
So yeah, I think that she's a bit taken aback by that. And she says, "Well, yes, that it is, if that is truly your goal. I have heard rumors along the grapevine, we'll call it. There's to be a beginning today."
Oh, a beginning to what, pray tell?
I think she kind of like cocks her head to the side and says, "Well, to this mission we've all come here to do. No secret that the armies gather outside. Both our enemies, our own."
Aye, that is true. And where will you sit in all of this chaos?
I think she says, "Away from the main fighting." And I think she goes, I know my place, and I'll do my job well."
Don't suppose you need an extra pair of hands, do you?
And I think specifically, and maybe this is a bit chilling to Farron, she goes, "No, I will only need one hand."
I just be careful.
Yeah, and I think she gives you an equally roguish smile and says, "When am I never careful?"
But war has a way of making people careless.
Indeed. I guess we'll just have to see then.
Yes. when this is all over, then perhaps we'll chat by again. Mel?
Yeah, and I think she kind of nods and she says, perhaps. One last thing before I go. Tell your princess she'll get her chance. Give it a few days.
It's good seeing you again, Mel.
Yeah, and I think she kind of nods, and we see her give kind of like a sad smile, as you maybe turn to go. And I think that as you do, she grabs your hand, and she kind of pulls you back into an embrace, which is very uncharacteristic for her. So maybe you're a bit shocked by that. And she squeezes you tightly and she says, thank you, Farron. Regardless of how you feel about everything, you are a good friend. See, that doesn't change.
Aye. Just let's both get to the end of this alive.
Yeah, and I think she nods and she says, I have my sights set on it. And she kind of like gives you a quick peck on the cheek and turns to leave. So, as much as you hate to watch her go but love to watch her leave, with her hawk face and everything, I think we go over to Aelin and I almost called him Arcady. Aelin and Jericho next. So, where do you go first, Aelin? You're kind of running lead on this, and Jericho's assisting.
Yeah. I definitely want to go back to the tower, start there, and work our way out because that was like point of contact, and then work our way back.
Yeah, and so when you get back there, you see that your incense has burned out, obviously, but there is a fresh incense there. And if I remember correctly, you left one by the armored wolf that was kind of in the seating area around the astronomy tower. And when you return, you see that there is a fresh one, both by the wolf, but also in the center pulpit area. There is also one kind of in a little holder by the Sigmarite hammer again. Now, I will say that you've shown everyone the little tokens, right? That you received as well?
Yeah. I think the first time I got them when we came back together, I kind of showed everybody.
Okay.
And I'm probably currently now holding them in my hands, looking at the spots. Being like,
Yeah, and so Jericho, this is your first time here. Well, probably not your first time here, but your first time here in recent history. And you have a clear sign now, Aelin, that there is somebody here, and somebody was recognizing your show of friendship, right? What do you guys do when you arrive there and see that?
I think Aelin sits down on the bench that has the carving in it.
Yeah.
And kind of absentmindedly holds the same the wolf up to it and kind of looks at Jericho and just says, well, it's clear that they're here, and like kind of takes it and just like places it in the carving.
Yeah.
As, like, kind of absentmindedly, but like kind of also hoping.
Yeah, and I think you find it slots much better than you expected. In fact, I think there's some weird like trick of the light here where the position of the wolf didn't look like it would fit in there, and as you place it in there, you're like, oh, I see. No, it actually, like, it needs to turn slightly at this angle, and you realize that it slots into that location quite flushly. As if it were made for that particular spot. When you do that, you kind of like, you do the thing where like, you're looking around, nothing appears to happen though. Jericho, do you make any comments about that?
So this isn't a standard priest locking mechanism, is what I'm hearing, or signaling, or anything like that. Lady Ash River.
Yeah, no, sorry. Aelin just kind of shakes her head. She's like, no, not that I'm aware of, but it's quite interesting. And like as she says that, she's walking over to the other one.
So you've got 2 of those?
Yes. She hands it to you, Jericho. Would you like to do the honors?
Huh. Right. I suppose you should probably stand, 20 feet away?
I'm sure it won't be anything like that.
Yeah, I've heard that before. All right. He will attempt to slot the other lock or whatever it is.
Yeah, so you place the Sigmarite hammer in the little slot for it, and you place it in there, and again, we do the Indiana Jones moment where like nothing happens, and you guys are standing there, and you're standing on the pulpit, Jericho, and all of a sudden the room begins to rise. And for a moment you're disoriented, and you look down, and the room isn't rising, but you begin descending. And the strange part is we don't hear that grinding of stone on stone. We don't hear that as it's going down. And Aelin, as you're watching from afar, you see that the circular like stone pulpit area begins slowly moving downwards. Jericho, you're riding on top of it.
Oh, didn't even take a password.
Aelin, what do you do?
Care to join me before it's too late?
Oh yeah, I would be running up to like
Yeah.
basically catch the elevator question mark.
Exactly. So I think that you see that it descends, and once it gets flush with the rest of the room around it, there's a moment where like it just stops, and you're standing there, and like, oh, I don't know, and then I think the stone begins to rotate and turn, and as it's doing that, you feel there's some kind of mechanism that might click or lodge, and then as it's turning, you begin descending again, and you are greeted with the stone that it was writing in, and you can see there doesn't appear to be any mechanical object that is making this go down, and we get like the epic music, the trumpets and horns are blaring, right? And we see that there is a single kind of carved, very narrow archway, just big enough for the two of you to kind of squeeze into, probably a little bit sideways. And we see down at the end of this hallway that's there's a torch lit. And it looks like where that torch is, it kind of opens up a little bit. I assume the two of you begin to move down the hallway.
Did you want to take the lead on this, or?
Aelin's already walking towards the light.
Yeah.
Oh, good, fantastic. Well then, Jericho just shrugs, and his cloak rearranges itself into vestments of a very low-ranking acolyte of Ulrich.
Yeah, absolutely. So you begin to kind of slide down the very narrow hallway, and as you step off of the stone, Jericho, you turn and you see it begin to spin and raise again. Now it's
about how far down did we go?
So you're like one level down, right?
Okay.
So
Okay,
it's not like it descended 300 feet or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like 10 feet to where the upper portion, where the bottom of the tower would be.
Secret basement, good stuff.
Yeah, secret basement, basically. And as you get down to the end of the hallway, you see it opens up, and I think that you walk and you can see that there's a small wooden railing, and as you enter into this large, almost cavernous area, you see that there are lights and torches and stuff, and what you've walked into is essentially an underground base of operations, for lack of a better term. Aelin, as you emerge from the tunnel and you walk into this, you feel a sense of like cold wash over you. Almost as if you stepped into like a very air-conditioned room. And Jericho, you feel the same thing as you step in there. You maybe sends a bit of a shiver up. And you have but a moment to kind of take in the sights of... There's probably... You can see movement and kind of back and forth transactions, and there are probably maybe 50 or 100 individuals in this like lowered area that you're looking at. And the cavern, you can see, goes up to about 10 feet and then has these stalactites that kind of hang down, and you've entered into what appears to be like a network of caves that are somewhat similar to the sewer systems that you're used to, Jericho, but only in the fact that it's the same material that surrounds it. There doesn't appear to be many, if any, man-made like walls or archways or supports or anything like that. It appears mostly natural. But as you have but a moment to take that in, there are two individuals that walk up, and they're wearing like this chainmail armor, and they have tabards on, and immediately you recognize the giant wolf head as the tabard of Ulrich, and two of them walk up. One of them has a shield strapped to his arm, and is kind of like got his hand resting on a morning star at his side, and he's a dwarf. And you see him. He walks up to you, and then the person next to that, is a human who appears to have like a large pole arm, a large like two-handed pole arm, a halberd, for a better term. And they kind of walk up to you and they address you not aggressively, but obviously with action in mind. And the dwarf says to you, he says, "Aye, well, it looks like you made it in through the barrier. Must mean you're not a demonic gutter, undead. State your business."
Good catch. Jericho says that quietly. Obviously, he's going to let Aelin take the lead.
I feel like you just like start with that. I'm like, okay. Yeah, so first I think Aylin's kind of still in awe of this place. She did not expect there to be such a hive of individuals down here. Thankful and impressed. I think she just says, "Oh, yes, no, quite, this is and she's still like looking around. This is incredible."
Yeah, and I think the dwarf just kind of like, he kind of just grunts and like doesn't restate his question, but just awaits the answer once you're done gawking.
Of course. I'm sorry. I'm Lady Ashriver. We were the ones who were looking for you, as you know now, obviously. I didn't think to come across so many of you. Gosh, this is so wonderful news. We are hoping to incur your assistance in a very important matter, although I'm sure you are very busy yourselves.
Yeah, and I think that he kind of, for a moment, he looks kind of incredulously at you, and then like looks at his partner, and he just starts laughing. He's just like, "Ha ha ha ha! This one's got a sense of humor, doesn't she? Well, let me tell you, little missy, if we weren't so busy with, I don't know, the occupation of our fair city, perhaps we would have a little bit more time to deal with your problems, but I suppose that since you made it through the barrier and you at least were able to find this place, you deserve to speak with Almond."
Does either of us know the name?
I was just gonna say, is that...
You recognize the name, Aelin. You don't even need to make a religion check because you're aware of the leaders of faiths in other cities. Almond is not the head priest of Ulrich. He's your Daniela.
Okay.
He's the like second in command. He is still a priest though. He's not a paladin. But he's like the person who would take charge if It was only so it's even more likely that you've met him, as opposed to the other leader, because the other leader would probably remain in a city while sending out other people to go do his bidding. But I think I explained this to you before. Shelly and Ulrich are pretty far from each other when it comes to ideals. So I think that while you have the high ground here of being like, hey, we need to work together, maybe there's a bit of like twitch there at the fact that you now have to deal with Almond, who, from what you remember, is not the most pleasant, is a little more like, he's probably a little bit more gruff, and you might even call him like bloodthirsty. But that was probably a few years ago when you met him, so who knows? So do you indicate to Jericho any of that, like, you know this individual?
I would respond to them saying, "Oh yes, Almond, of course, that would make sense." And then I would turn to Jericho and just kind of nod, like, "Yes, this is the person we need to speak with."
Fantastic, Lady Ash River.
Yeah, and I think the dwarf kind of eyes you up again, and the two of you, and he says, "Well, follow me if you please." And he just begins walking, and you can see the guy with the halberd. He kind of like steps to the side to allow you to pass by him. He's obviously intending to walk behind you. And so as the four of you begin to proceed down this long ramp that kind of runs the outside of this cavernous area, you can see that now there appears to be not only this big open hive area, but there appears to be little cuts and little tunnels that kind of lead off in a couple of varying directions. And as the dwarf leads you around, he walks you up to a large structure that's kind of like, it's probably built out of like mud and maybe some wood supports or structures. And as he kind of leads you over there, you can see there's a couple windows. You can see some light flickering from some torches inside. And I think that as you're progressing through the camp, actually, why don't both of you make me a perception check to see what you actually do see as you progress through the camp. So, as you stated, you were in awe of the hive, Aelin.
Yes. Narrative.
You're probably just admiring like the ability to hide this many people in this, like, so close, right, to the surface. Like, the Resistance probably doesn't have bases this large, and they're also like way deeper underground, and they're still being like rooted out. And this one appears to be seemingly almost in the open compared to those. And Jericho, on the other hand, you're a bit more practical when it comes to these sort of things. And you identify that there are a variety of clergymen and women that reside here. But also the majority of the populace appears to be either their families or refugee families that have found this place. If there were 50 people here, you would give it the estimate of about 15 to 20 of the people are actual clergymen and women, or there's probably some guards and some paladins mixed in there as well. So I think that notably, it's not a fighting force, but it certainly could act as a striking unit of some sort, should that become necessary.
That's something.
It's something, right? And depending on the level of what you want done, it could possibly work. It would be dependent on how well they operate together, and there's obviously no guarantees with anything. So you guys are brought to this structure as I've described before, and you're escorted in, and as you're escorted in, you see Almond, who appears to be in robes that are maybe one or two sizes too big for him. He's a thin man, and you can see that he carries. He has two axes that are sheathed in his belt loops at his side, like two not wood cutting axes, but like battle axes. And as he's kind of standing there, he's looking down at a table that's been fashioned out of like a plank of wood, and a couple of like stone supports that are standing up. And as you approach, you can see he looks up and he takes a moment to recognize you and recognize the intrusion, and he goes, "Well, it isn't the priestess of Shalia herself. I guess I should say it's wonderful to see you, although I don't know how you've become entrapped like us in this forgotten place."
Yes, and Aelin kind of bows a little bit in deference. She says,
Jericho bows much more.
Almond, yes, it's good to see you. Fortunate under these circumstances. I have to say that I was not trapped. I came here willingly.
Ha! That seems even more foolish of you. Well, no matter. We will hopefully be able to drive this out, although we have very little information from the outside. I'm sure we'll be able to handle it before it spreads to the capital. Wouldn't want to dirty anyone's robes down there.
That is why we are here. What is it exactly that you are talking about?
The occupation, of course.
Yes, but here, we can share some information about the outside. What is it exactly that you'd like to know? We've just come from there and have done a bit of our own reconnaissance ourselves. We should really get, and she kind of like trails off a second, and she wants to like figure out how to say this without ruffling feathers. She just says, combined forces, perhaps is the best way to put it.
Yes, well, any tool is a good one in the hands of a great smith. And we have plenty of those here, both in war and in fighting.
How about architecture?
Yeah, and I think he looks at you and he goes, "And to whom is addressing?"
Oh, I'm just here as her ladyship's assistant, really.
Yeah, and I think like looks between the two of you, and then he says, "Well, out with it. What do you mean architecture?"
The bridge, I'm sure you know how it came to be broken.
Yeah, and I think you can see the cogs turning for a bit. And I think he says, yes, destroying the bridge might work. We know there's a force arrayed outside. I assume that you are with them.
You misunderstand us. Entirely backwardsly, so to speak.
Now, I don't mean to say more about your god than you would know yourself, but if he seems to be powerful enough to destroy, perhaps he could be powerful enough to create, no? Possibly fix?
Who except Ulrich could undo what Ulrich has done?
Yeah, and I think that he kind of like leans back a little bit and he says, "Perhaps you should tell me the plan before we continue on." And I think that like that's where we see Jericho and Aelin begin to like detail out the plan to this man, to see if that is possible. And I think that the kind of capstone of that is he kind of scratches the back of his neck and he says, "It is possible we can make something work, but it would not be permanent, nor would it be, well, foolproof. It would require a lot of power and a lot of concentrated power. Protection would be necessary if we plan on getting a host larger than a single unit across. They surely would detect that sort of level of magic. Is protection something that you all can provide, what you have in the city?"
I should say so. How long do you think you would need? Before we could start bringing soldiers across, I mean, obviously it's going to take... Eventually it's going to depend on how quickly their feet move.
Set up the proper rituals. Require dwarven runes, I think. Very least. To call upon Ulrich. in that capacity. Perhaps an hour.
I'm sure we can do something.
Yeah, and so I think that the thing that you've acquired is the ability to do this with the provided information of you have to hold out for an hour until reinforcements would be able to march across, right?
Mm-hmm.
In whatever capacity that might be, because again, the bridge isn't going to be wide enough for all of them to come across at once, right? They'll still have to kind of like trickle in as they see fit. So
Sprint, hopefully, but yeah.
right. So we envision that scene, and I think that we move out to the other two groups here, and Kree, what is it that you and your men and women are going to do to draw hatred towards the West Gate so that you can have them chase you and drag you into the swamp? Because getting them to leave their gate is going to be hard enough. Maybe it's worth it just to simply posture in some manner to get more reinforcements to go to the West Gate so that other areas are left less defended. But given what you were given, which was not a whole lot of information, create some sort of distraction at the West Gate. What do you do?
So
that's the other option is you could try and like take the West Gate, right? Like you have bear riders.
But from what I was told from the inside, that wasn't really the idea. So I'm gonna try and stay away from that. However fun that would be.
Just flaunt that massive penis you have. Just flaunt it around.
Pretty much. But the West Gate, according to Kree's knowledge, that's where all of the traders and supply comes through, correct?
That's the North Gate.
That's the North Gate.
Yeah.
Oh.
The West Gate is like what would normally be the contingent for Middenheim right now. Like it's as basic as it comes. So it's defended with a normal complement of soldiers, mostly Norsemen in this case. But that's about it. It's kind of removed from all of the other happenings going on.
Then yeah, probably the easiest option would line up at the forest edge to still sort of hidden and just charge the gate. It's what we're good at after all.
Okay. Well, yeah, so the advantage that lizardmen have, and bear riders, the advantage that those two particular cavalry units have is you're a fair shake at climbing yourself. So you could probably make a concerted effort at the West Gate. How successful that would be, though, would be hard simply because you're at a massive disadvantage since you're on the, on the outside of the gate. And they could simply just close it and be relatively well defended, and it's Helm's Deep all over again. Except you're on the other side this time. So the advantage that you do have, though, is the element of surprise. So your distraction is going to be charging at the gate, perhaps posturing to maybe pull reinforcements over, etc., etc.
Yeah, the idea is kind of, since we are good at climbing, try and get maybe into the gatehouse and break the gate's mechanism. So it's kind of out of our, I don't know, thought.
So from what it sounds like, you would like to make a concerted effort at actually taking the gate.
Yeah,
which is certainly
I'll
something you can do.
Try and take the gate.
That's one way to get their attention.
That's one way to get their attention. As we all understand it, they're going to be more focused on the South Gate anyway, and so that would be the surprise attack. Because I think that the deal is here, even if you sacrifice some men to divert forces in that direction, you can then always retreat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
We
that's
don't have to stay at this gate.
right. That's the option that the men defending the gate don't have, and that's the disadvantage that all defenders of a city don't have is you can't really retreat. So you're gonna do the lightning strike. If we get it, great. If we don't, hey, we distracted them. Let's pull back before we all die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Blitzkrieg.
cool, awesome. So that brings us over to Hannibal and Morella. So Hannibal, you have to conduct your rituals, and then you kind of know what's going to happen after that goes down. You know that that the initial part of it is going to be relatively successful. Certainly going to put them on their back heels, let's say. But you also know that there is going to be an event that occurs after that. So my question is, do you tell Morella your fears about that?
Morella.
Yes, Hannibal.
I'm going to warn you about something.
Good, I wanted to talk to you about something else too. But go first.
When we do this, there's a chance that the avatar of Zinch might come. A chance. We don't know what might happen for sure, but there's a chance. In that case, it is my duty to destroy it.
Is that all?
All right, sure. Do you have anything else to talk about? It's not like my important thing about the avatar of a chaos god coming, but sure, yeah. Go on.
He has a point.
Yeah. I think the appropriate thing is here is he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Like I said, though, it's a chance. It might happen. We don't know. I don't know.
I am not pushing it away, Hannibal. I am just accepting it. I'm going to ask you for one last favor.
Okay.
Should I need it?
What is it?
Tell me. Have you been keeping an eye on Anders?
I look at her suspiciously. I might have.
Do you know where he is?
Not at the moment. I could try to find him after this, though.
I would like that. And if possible,
You want
for
me
you
to
to take me. Yes.
Yeah, feeling it'd be that.
So to
You
be
know
fair,
me so
Hannibal,
well.
you are fairly certain that Anders is in the city. Considering his
Have I had a single successful scry attempt? Because I imagine I would have tried at least once a day.
Yeah, if you tried once a day, you probably had
Because it's a pretty high DC to keep on making.
yeah, I mean, granted, he does get advantage, and also he has a pretty high saving throw. I would say that maybe you've made one, and it was during a time that you saw him. In fact, just to heighten the, I think that it is appropriate that it is a time you saw him in a darkened hallway, and you could see that he was surrounded by a few men around him, and there's like dim torchlight kind of flickering, and you could see bars for what look like a cell of some sort, and you can tell that you're pretty far underground, and inside the cell all you can see are this pair of glowing yellow eyes that just show hatred beyond all else, and you can see that there is a figure in there, and Anders probably doesn't say anything. Probably just stands there for a good 10-15 minutes and just looks into the cell and kind of hangs his head. And I think that the curious thing to you, Hannibal, is Anders looks sad. He looks disheartened. and that's probably what your scrying was able to see.
Okay. I know he's in the city.
Oh, that is reassuring.
He's probably still around. He's dealing with, and then thinking back to what you just said, whatever that was.
Well, again, this would be my last favor to ask of you, Hannibal.
Do you not intend to live through this? All right then.
I don't know, Hannibal. That is my answer. I do know, though, this. Anders has committed the ultimate atrocity to the Empire, and will pay by the highest price I can give him.
All right then. I'll help you with this. Then step back. I have to make a bomb out of Weirdstone.
Yeah, and Hannibal, you pull out the sizable chunk of Weirdstone that you have. Probably the
I'd like to point out what's more, Morella, for sparity's sake, I'm allowed to do this. Family pardon. My family's been pardoned for shit like this.
Correct. Morella could still say, hey, he played with Weirdstone, and they would arrest you, but I'm sure she wouldn't.
I still have also the authority of the previous emperor was okay.
Yep.
The previous emperor was okay.
Yeah.
So
he knew what was on the up and down low.
So you set about making your device, and I think that the last thing we see before break is Cahill is marshaling troops. Everybody that can ride. You can see that like crude ladders and grappling hooks are being built to assail the walls.
Oh.
They don't have time to like build actual siege engines. And he's giving a speech to the men and women there that are getting ready to march upon the city with him. And he says that, now I know not what we will face once we enter the city. The important thing is that we do enter the city. There can be no other success than that. We have been told that this gate holds some hideous evil, and tell you with some certainty that we will defeat it by the light of Sigmar. And then everybody screams, by the light of Sigmar! And he kind of unsheathes his sword and raises it to the sky, and there's cheering, and and then he points in the direction of the city, and the troops begin to march towards it. I think you guys already did. You said there was some unknown evil, possibly alive, etc.
Also, before that, and we'll probably want a little bit of a scene, I'm going to summon Dane back to me.
Okay, sure.
Because I think I'm going to need him for this.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and take our break. Let's be back at 15 after.
Okay.
Sure thing.
See you guys then.
Ready. See you soon.
Also, sorry about the power constantly.
Alright guys, we're going to take a little bit of a break. Hold the break screen here. Oh my gosh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful artwork? Look at that. Alright, we're going to take a quick break. Be back for the second half in just a moment. See ya.